Hi, welcome to the Eternal Spirit Show. I'm Paul Salmon, I'm a psychic medium. My guest today is Deb Hawken, fellow psychic medium. Hi Deb.
Hi Paul.
But not only psychic medium, also life coach and inspirational speaker or talker.
Yeah.
Speaker
Always a
sounds
talker.
better. Always talker. And soon to be published author, I believe.
I hope so. I'm working on it.
Fingers crossed.
I've been working on a book for 20 years, and maybe one day I'll actually get it finished. But it's taking a better shape. I'm beginning to get more of a feeling of what the book ought to be about. I think, like a lot of people, I've tried to aim my book at the psychic and spiritual field, and actually that isn't where it belongs. I'm trying to attract people maybe who wouldn't even think about the psychic and spiritual field, and show them how useful believing that you are mind, body and spirit can be. So I've got a really funny cover for it now.
Have you?
Yeah, I've started designing that. So
I'll tell you what, come back when it's all published.
Yeah. Oh.
And you've got a book, we'll bring it back, we'll do a...
Yeah, that's a
talk about
challenge
the book.
now.
That's a challenge. I'll set you a challenge.
Yeah. Well, I got the cover, so we've got a book.
Deb, how did you get into mediumship in the first place?
Completely by accident. I had absolutely no idea that I was a medium. I can't tell you I've been seeing spirit all my life or even known they were there. I haven't. There was one incident that couldn't be explained when I was 6 years old, just after my grandfather died, but that was it. And I was a very, very normal person, but I made an extremely bad marriage for both of us. I'm not knocking him. It was no better for him than it was for me. And I gradually started to spiral downhill because I was in the wrong job. My parents didn't like the person that I had to be married to him, and I don't blame them. My in-laws weren't keen on my parents' daughter because we came back from a very different background. My colleagues didn't really like any of those people, and I was as completely lost as it was possible to be. And I had a friend called Keith McFarlane, who, bless his heart, was my mentor till the day he died, and probably still is. And he came to see me one night to do some hypnotherapy to try and help me get my head sorted out, because I didn't want drugs. I knew somehow I could sort my head out. And the first thing he said to me is, you have to understand, Deb, you're not just a human being. You're not the person you think you are. Your name hasn't always been Debbie. You are mind, body and spirit. You're 10,000 years old. You've got 10,000 years of wisdom behind you. You've got 100 lifetimes. And I must admit, I looked at him and thought, yeah. But he said, think about this for a moment, because, when you're in a black hole, you don't feel wise or wisdomous. You just feel like the biggest idiot on the planet. And he said, no, think about it for a minute. What if you weren't just your parents' daughter? Can you let go of a lot of their programming now and a lot of their beliefs and a lot of their attitude towards you? And I thought, yes, I can. And the more I worked with this over the next particularly intensive 2 years, but another 15 years before he died, I realised how powerful the thought was that any time you don't like an aspect of your personality, or you don't like being a worrier, or you don't like chasing jobs all the time, you can actually look at that and think, no, I don't need to be this person anymore. I'm spirit. I'm infinitely flexible. The air around me is full of wisdom that I can tune into anytime I want it. I can just change, and I've found it very easy to bring about change. It's not always easy to be a different person, but you wouldn't recognise me now from the person I was at 26.
So you had a life transforming
Absolutely.
event in your life then?
Absolutely, and it's still transforming now.
Yeah.
A year ago I got on an aeroplane. And 2 years ago now, 2 years ago. I used to be terrified of flying, absolutely hanging onto a pillar at Gatwick Airport, sobbing my heart out, going, I can't get on this plane, we're all going to die. And then I had one session with a friend of mine who's a hypnotherapist, but also channels an extremely powerful guide. Didn't think anything had changed at all, booked up a flight and went to Sweden to teach. Loved the flight. Got off the plane and started to sort of curve around the airport thinking, where's that one going? And Tony's going, no, you're not, you have to go home now. No, I want to go on another plane. And I went to Sweden again 3 months later. Then I flew to Ireland on my own, which was hilarious. And then I went to Sedona in Arizona at the end of that year. And I love flying, I can't wait to get on a plane. But I put that down to spiritual thinking, to that knowledge that I had the choice whether I kept that fear or I changed that fear. And because I'm spirit, because I'm not stuck in a human body, stuck in one way of thinking, when the time was right for me, because I've worked on a lot of fear, this is kind of what I hope, touch wood, that was kind of one of the ending bits, was to get on an aeroplane. That was like the next thing to be dealt with. But I put that down to the fact that I feel flexible, because I don't feel like I've only ever been Deborah Hawken. I've only ever been this woman in this body. That is the only thing I know. My life experience is limited to 55 years. I don't feel like that. I feel so flexible and so able to just change.
So has that brought you a connection with God?
I've always
Is that
believed
part
it.
of the bigger picture?
I don't believe in God anymore as a man with a long white beard.
No.
I even when I was a child, I used to quiz my vicar on exactly what he looked like and exactly when would I see him. Because if I died and there was a man on the throne with a long white beard, I wanted to know when my appointment would be to actually meet this man and ask him loads and loads of questions. Always wanted to ask God what happened to the Marie Celeste. That was one of my things. I really wanted to know that. But as I've grown older and I've looked around the subject of religion more, God feels to me more like a life force energy, and a life force and happiness. And there is an energy that comes from the spirit world when you can tune into it that is breathtaking. You must have experienced it as a medium.
A couple of
when
times,
that love comes through you, it just stops you dead in your tracks, doesn't it? You can't believe when they put a bolt of love through you to a person in the audience suffering. There are no words for that unconditional love, are there?
So getting back to the mediumship, when did that kick in?
During a phone call when I was 34.
Phone call.
I had no idea, literally no idea I was a medium, and I'm on the phone to my friend Leslie, and I did know Leslie well, and I knew that both her parents were in the spirit world. But as she was talking to me, she said, "Deb, why do you keep hesitating?" And I said, "Well, and we, people who don't even know about mediumship will say, I can see that in my mind's eye."
Yeah.
"Oh, how did you imagine that?" "Oh, well, I saw it in my mind's eye when you were talking." "Oh, yeah, that is the car I'm buying." "Yeah, I saw it in my mind's eye." And in my mind's eye, I've got 2 crystal pots. One's got marmalade in it and one's got jam. And all that was going through my mind, like a broken tape loop, was never the twain will meet, never the twain will meet, never the twain will meet. And I couldn't concentrate on what Leslie was saying. So she said, "Well, tell me what's in your mind that is stopping you concentrating." So I told her. She said, "I completely understand that. Ask for something else." And I said, "What do you mean, ask for something else? I'm here on my own. Who do I ask?" She said, "In your mind, say, could you show me something else, please?" So I did. And then a pink rose was laid down. I didn't see a hand, I just saw a rose come in and lay down in front of these 2 pots. So I told her. And there was other stuff, but I'm afraid my mind went completely blank at that point. And Leslie said to me, "There's no doubt that's my parents." She said, because their aim when they retired, their life's ambition, was to have their condiments in crystal pots. Dad only liked marmalade, Mum only liked jam, and they always said, never the twain will meet. She said, "Now I'm as sure as I can be that you've only ever heard my mum referred to as my mum or Leslie's mum, but her name was Rose. And they had pink roses growing all around their front door."
Would you say that's the first, as far as you're concerned, the first psychic or spiritualist message you received?
Definitely. It blew my mind completely. And the rest of the information was for my friend Leslie's friend Rosemary.
Right.
And I knew Rosemary existed. I'd heard about her, but I'd never met her. And she said, "You've got to come and see Rosemary," because the rest of that was for her.
So did you go, interrupting you, did you go from there to the spiritualist church?
No.
No?
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know there were spiritualist churches. I'm sorry, I know that sounds stupid. I did not know. I'd seen Doris Stokes' work once, and it had completely blown my mind. I'd read her books, which took away my fear of death. And I think we have that in common.
Well, I think we've got that in common, haven't we?
Yeah,
We're about the same age as well.
Exactly,
Yeah,
but we owe
fantastic.
Doris Stokes the taking away of that fear.
Yeah.
And I saw her work, and she was incredible. But then I never followed mediumship again. Keith took me to see a local medium once, and he was incredible. Someone I can't even remember his name, but he was awesome. But that was it. I just didn't bother because I didn't think in those terms. So I find myself down with Rosemary describing her ex-husband to her and telling what was rather a sad story, but it'll show you how unusual it was, how her husband insisted that he wanted puppies from their dog. And Rosemary said, no, she's too old. So he takes the dog to somebody who's got a boy, obviously, and came back in tears because he'd had to hold the dog down because she didn't want this. Now, I'm sorry, I know that's going to probably turn the stomach of people listening as much as it still turns mine. I think that's I'm sorry, a horrible thing to do to an animal. But that's not something you're going to come out with out of the blue as something easy. But I got that. And that blew my mind completely, because I could understanding that he took the dog to have puppies against Rosemary's wishes even, but not that. Not that horrible part. But of course he would have told me that because it is so unusual. And that was how I got introduced to my guide. And my first guide, Edward, then had to teach me how to be a medium, because I didn't know where to go or who to talk to. I didn't know what you did with it.
So are you how do you describe yourself? A working medium now?
Yes, I'm not doing a lot of mediumship at the moment. I've been concentrating a lot on writing. But yes, I am a working medium.
Because I believe you want to help others now the way you've been helped in the past.
That's always been my main path. Mediumship for me is the cherry on the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And it's also a way that I can get contact with people. But what I find a little bit sad, and this is just a personal opinion, the spiritual field, people go to churches week after week. That's lovely to have that. But when I go and I do my inspirational speaking, what a lot of the churches mention is how I'm applying what they're doing with mediumship to real life. How I'm asking the audience to see that even if they didn't get a message, did they hear the inspiration coming through because it's useful? Did they hear the evidence? Did they think when that lady went, oh my God, no one else knew that, no one else could have? Did that not make them think, hello, I might be a skeptic, there's more going on here, there's more to life than this? To me, there's a huge importance around mediumship that's applicable right into this life, into how I change. I'd like everybody to know their life guide, so that they got advice when they needed it.
But how do you work as an inspirational speaker? How does it work?
You stand up, you open your mouth.
And talk.
Yeah, and an hour or 2 hours later someone tells you were fabulous, and then you get out your notebook and you say, can you tell me what I said, please?
So you don't have an agenda in mind, you don't get up and think, I'm going to speak on this subject or that.
I can, sometimes I've got a starting point. I will have said I'm going to do the mystery of mediumship, which I take mediumship into world peace. I can actually, through that talk, point out why we're very useful going towards world peace. But then I'll switch out, and a friend of mine's seen the mystery of mediumship 8 times, and I say to her, you're not coming again? And she said, yeah, because it won't be the same.
Is that a title of your...
That's one of them, the mystery of mediumship. The
yeah.
other one is the title of the book, Who Am I, Where Am I, What Is This Place?
Yeah.
You know, I've got £86,400 is another one of my talks. Your Right to Happiness, because that's what it's all about ultimately, is helping people to be happy and helping them to believe there are an infinite number of ways and an infinite number of tools, and if something doesn't work, drop it, find something else.
So you go out speaking in public, or at churches or centres. Do people come to see you on the one-to-one basis?
Yes,
They
yeah,
do?
yes I do.
And what sort of people come to see you?
All kinds. I get quite a lot of men.
Yeah.
Because apparently, according to my birth chart, I'm a masculine energy, and I think I blend well with men because I'm not fluffy, you know, but I get all kinds of people. But I do find that a lot of clients have hit this is what Who Am I, Where Am I, What Is This Place is about, is when you get to that point where you think this cannot be it. You know, surely I wasn't born to go to school, go to college, get a job, have a few romances, get more jobs, get married, have some holidays, have some houses, retire and then die. You know, that can't be. There's got to be something. There's got to be more than this wretched job and chasing money or coming home at the weekends and decorating the house. A lot of people hit a point they want a life.
So you're a life coach, if you like?
Yes, I'm very much a spiritual life coach.
Spiritual life coach.
I had to give up doing my first sessions free because the psychic side, as you will know, helps you to understand people very quickly and to feel what they're feeling. And I found that's speeded up the coaching a lot from what I've heard that other people do. I obviously don't know. I've not seen a coach myself, but I've only got the word of what the people who like me say to me. But of course they like me. But I do feel that the actual psychic side, and talking to other psychic life coaches, they all feel the work is faster. And of course that's the thing. You know, I wouldn't consider myself to be a successful coach if you came and said to me, Or said to someone, I've got to recommend Deb Hawken. I've been seeing her for 3 years now and it's marvellous. If I was looking for a life coach, I'd think 3 years, something's not happening. If I'm looking for a life coach, I want someone to say, I saw them 3 times and I really felt back on my feet. Because we haven't got unlimited money. And often the people who really need help are not your multimillionaires. They know what they're doing. It's people like you and I with limited resources.
But how does it work? If I came to see you, do I just begin talking and tell you my problems?
Absolutely. You just tell me why you're there, because of course life coaching is very different from psychic work. If someone came to us for psychic reading, we would say, don't talk, don't say a word, just let me get the cards out or let me tune into you and let me tell you what I'm getting. But life coaching, yes, you just say what brought you here, why do you feel you've come, and gradually you'll hear the questions you've got to ask people. You know, so stop for a minute, you've just been talking about your relationship as if you're very happy, but in the other breath you're telling me you're thinking of leaving, so can we just talk about this confusion a bit? And I don't often find people really do need to end a relationship. What they need to do is go back and communicate with their partner and get things changing. They don't realise that any long-term relationship is going to go into the doldrums every so often.
Do you get people coming with marriage problems, maybe not the physical pain so much, but emotional, depression?
It sounds a little bit blasé, but it's normally I have hit a brick wall. Nothing's working for me, nothing feels right. I hate my weight, my hair, my job. I don't hate my partner, but we've lost relativity with each other. He works, I work. The kids need us, the house wants cleaning. No romance is left anymore. Everything else is piled in on top of us. You know, I've got friends that are turning their back on me or stabbing me in the back. I've found out that one person said this to someone else, and it seems as if people just go smack into a brick wall and fall backwards and go, I don't know what to do. You know, and one of my clients has gone from being in the legal profession to being a swimming instructor who hopefully, please God, will be helping to coach the team for the Rio Olympics. There is an opportunity where she's working that she could go that far. And but she found that by being listened to. I know I talk a lot on things like this, but listening, hearing, but then trying to come up with action. You know, life doesn't change by talking. You can talk till the cows come home, but you've got to find out what that person wants to do, where they want to start. And it's often when you work with them, it isn't where they thought they wanted to start.
But let's talk about Deb Hawken. Where does Deb want to be? Where do you want to be in a couple of years' time?
Helping people, and as many people as possible. I'm personally more comfortable with having 100 people in a room at £10 than one person in a room a lot more. I love to walk in and offer and go. I think sometimes when you want to come and see a psychic and a medium, who are you seeing? If you want to see a life coach, who are you seeing? If I can get out in front of big audiences, then people can know whether they would like to come and see me or not, whether they would like help from me. But I've also found that sometimes you'll go to a whole evening and somebody will say one sentence, not even a medium, a chat at an evening meal, and someone will say one thing and your life just changed.
Yeah, sure.
And so sometimes I don't feel people always need in-depth help. I think it's wrong to say to them, oh, you need to go and see someone, your life's in a pit. Sometimes they need one sentence, or in my case, what changed my life, another thing that was very much a defining moment, was 4 sentences spoken by Barry Manilow.
Really?
Yeah, not something I would ever have expected.
I didn't expect to hear his name on my settee either, on my sofa.
Okay, shall I say it again?
No, don't you dare. No.
The man is awesome as a person.
Is he?
Yes. And whenever I've been to one of his shows, he always spends time trying to inspire his audience to go out and chase their dreams. I've never seen him not do that.
Are you chasing your dreams, Deb?
Oh God, yeah.
You are.
I love my life and I love my work, and it's just the biggest privilege to work with people. I know, you know, the cynics will tell you, well, everybody's out there to cheat, lie, steal, and do you down. It's rubbish. People are amazing. And most of the times they're not amazing is when they're in trouble, when they're unhappy. You don't get light shining out of a person who feels desperate or dead or lost. And yet, because of spiritual thinking, the truth is you're very rarely that way. The light is just there. in a poem I wrote called The Caves of Ismaron, it says, and this was channeled from the spirit world, the light that you're seeking has never been seen, but it is where you are, and it was where you've been. You're the light.
Yeah, but we've got it the whole time, this light.
Yeah.
We just don't realise we've got it, do we?
Exactly.
And it takes someone like you or Barry Manilow,
or a medium.
Medium to bring out that light.
What do mediums try to do? With every message they give, they try to give some inspiration. They don't go, yes, love, you're in a hole and your mother tells me there's no way you're ever getting out of it, so get a spade and bury yourself. They don't. They'll say, like you did in that message, do what you know to be right. You had no idea what you were talking about. You told me. You just looked at a man in the audience, gave him his evidence and said the message is do what you know to be right. Now that might sound bland, but to that man, it changed his life in that moment, because the message from the spirit world was designed to help.
Let's mention your website. What's the address? Your website?
www.debhawken.com. But of course, Hawken is a name I can't even pronounce. It's K-E-N at the end. It's not Hawkin or Hawkins. It's Hawken. So I say we're Ken and Barbie.
Or contact us here at Felixstowe TV and ask for Deb.
That's
a lot on your website. You do a lot of writing as well, don't you, for magazines?
I haven't got all my writing up yet, but yeah, I did. I'm not doing so much writing for magazines.
Does that become, or when you did, was that inspirational as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. It comes together. I sometimes get slapped for saying that I don't feel I can take a lot of credit for my work, but there's stuff out there that's amazing, and sometimes when I know I'm being amazing, when I can actually hear, because I go deaf sometimes when I work, I can't hear my audience at all. But sometimes when I can, even what's coming out of my mouth, I'm thinking, God, I must remember that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm as blown away as the audience are sometimes by what I'm hearing. What my guide comes through with sometimes is just incredible, because it's so gentle and it's so simple. While we're rushing around complicating, he'll go, why don't you do that? And you think, God, yes, that is so obvious.
Have you got time for hobbies? I don't suppose you have
hobbies? You? Tony and I do quite a lot of keep fit. I do Zumba, and I find I do feel a lot better for doing a physical hour of aerobics at least a week. We go to the gym. We've got 6 cats. That keeps me very, very busy. Sometimes when people say, oh, it must be fabulous to be a medium, what always jumps into my mind is me down on my hands and knees with the 2 litter trays with my kitten Hito, who's a huge kitten, stood on my back doing that. Because what he really wants me to do is really get up and do my food.
Right.
But they keep us very, very busy. We've got a house that keeps us busy, but I love being out and,
and meeting people and helping.
Just people. I like meeting people. I've got loads of lovely friends, and I love the seaside, and I decorate or go out. I've grabbed a sandwich, I'm gone.
I'll tell you what, it's been lovely meeting you again, Deb.
Again.
And we're at Felixstowe. We've got the beach. We can go and have a walk
along
the coast. And thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Paul. It's lovely to see you again.
And that's it for Eternal Spirit today. Goodbye and God bless.